film man said to try and stay in the light. God, I don't know how many times my mother taught me that. Don't keep wandering off. You know. I don't know if there was a thing, it pops up every now and again in the news, that thing, I think it was Voyager 2 they call it, a little gizmo that NASA sent away out into the solar system. And I think it's burnt out now. But when it was out past Saturn, I saw a picture that they'd posted. Somebody posted on the internet, and it was spinning around as it went, taking pictures from everywhere, all over the universe. And there was this one amazing picture that it took, and it was like trillions of stars, big blankets of stars of all pink and blue and green and everything. And somebody from NASA drew a little wee circle on it, and in this picture, just a little wee red circle, and they said, the little speck of dust in the middle of this picture is planet Earth. And I thought, wow, it just gave you a bit of perspective of how tiny our little planet is. And I thought, what a massive obligation almost to be making love and not war. And we're only going to be here for a splink of time as well, which means, again, more so the other. So I wrote this little poem in the strength of it. We're a picky lot on that little dot. Some pick winners, some do not. Some pick fights with the other fellow, but my love picks nasturtiums, leaves them on my pillow. Some sing praises to their gods and dirges to their dead. Some battle songs to marching boots and fill the sky with lead. But my love dozes in my arms, humming some old rhyme about old dogs and children. And you guessed it, watermelon wine. And some awake to the call for prayer, plant bombs inside their vests. I awake to the kookaburra, plant a kiss on my true love's breast. Some seek jewels, jade and jasper, and strip earth mother bare. I find treasure in my love's eyes, and silver in her hair. And some wear Gucci, an obsession, Dior, Chanel, cologne. My love smells of gardening and sweet, sweet, subtle pheromone. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. She didn't like it at all. I was born in the Cork and Kerry Mountains, like the old song. And there was a pub up the road from us, and it was famous for one thing. It was the highest pub in Ireland. It is the highest pub in Ireland, the top of Coombe. There's another one up near, yeah, but the one down in Cork is higher than the one up near E. We'll talk about it after.
It depends on how much you drink in there.
Oh, how you get it. Yeah. Anyway, I was born the youngest of 11 children, and so it was a fairly packed house now. And there was the parents and there was old people as well, so we were really crammed in. And this time of the year, you're coming up towards, well, midwinter. I was born in November. And we had no money for no luxuries like heating or hot water, nothing like that, you know. And so bathing was a bit of a scarcity, I can tell you. And then my sister Bridie, she was 9 years of age, and she decided one day that she'd give the baby a bath. And so she found an old iron tub from somewhere, and she stuck it. She filled it up with water that had ran off the Kerry Mountains from up above us. And there was icicles floating around the top of it. And she stripped me down from my swaddling clothes and stuck my little skinny frame down into the freezing water. Honest to God, true story. And my older brothers reckon that's where I developed my singing lungs. My mother was outside in the yard. She heard the god-awful screeching. She came belting in and pulled me out just in time. I turned blue. Now, I don't know whether that has anything to do with this or not, but I hate the cold. God, I hate the cold with a passion. And so when I got big enough to travel and I heard about sunny Australia, I said, that'll do me. I'm off to Australia. I will never be cold again. I landed in Sydney. It was mid-July. And I got a job straight away. And this was 1977. And so I was working away, and one day the foreman says to me, Joe, hop in the car, we have to go to Orange. Where's Orange? You'll see, out the other side of the Blue Mountains. You have to bring back an old lorry that's out there. It's the true story. And so we drove away. I hopped in the car, off with him, out over the mountains, all windy roads in those days. They're grand big freeways now. Out over the mountains and down in Torrance. It was just getting dark in the evening, and we drove around. Then with the lights of the car, we could see the old truck. She was an old red Dodge truck, petrol engine thing. An old Dodge, dodgy in every respect. Anyway, went over, had a look at it, no windscreen in the lorry. That's why they left it there. That's why nobody wanted to bring it back, you know. So the foreman had to take me out. We'll take the new fella, like, he won't say no because he needs the job. Anyway, it was like that in those days, and you wouldn't say no. So I hopped in the lorry, and it started, worst luck. And then he said, "You'll be grand, so," and he drove away. And I drove her up the mountain, and it was a bitter cold night. And it started snowing when I was getting up near the top of the mountains. God's honest truth now. And I'm driving along like this, and the snow is just pouring in the window. And it filled the lorry up completely. Came inside now was white, except my eyes, I'd say. And I kept going, and I got to Sydney. And if I was a younger, or a very younger man, or a very older man, if it was now, it would have killed me, I'm sure it would. But I believe with all my heart that I would have died in the mountain that night had it not been for my sister Bridie conditioning me and preparing me for this moment in time. And so I wrote a little poem in the strength of it. I was ploughing fields in Ireland, and I stopped one day to read the magazine Australia, and I felt a burning need. A need for sandy beaches, Tui's beer and Rishes. Come to the sun, it proudly said. And before I had it read, I was surfing with the Sheilas in my head. Mid-July in Orange, and the foreman says to me, "Joe, you'll have to drive the old lorry there to Sydney by the sea. They need it for the morning. Go now, make no delay. So there's only the Blue Mountains standing in your way." So I drove her up the mountain. I was young by, and I was keen. But I had near a jumper, and the lorry, no windscreen. Upward, ever upward, upward through the night, and when I reached the summit, Blackheath was turning white. White powder snow came drifting into my limousine, drifting in the windscreen, or where the windscreen should have been. I was shivering and shaking. I thought I'd surely croak. Come to the sun, my sorry backside. It must have been all a joke. Thank you very much. Oh boy. Anyway, I struck off from Ireland, and on the way to Australia, I stopped off in London. I was about 17, and like I said, we had nothing. We were all, you know, there's a massive crowd of us, so as soon as you were big enough to go. So I stopped in London for a couple of years, and I was 17, and I knew nothing of life. I was very innocent, if you know what I mean. I knew nothing of love either, and all of those wonderful things. I was just such a quiet little boy. I wouldn't open my mouth. I'm making up for it now, though. Anyway, and so then I met Mary, and Mary was beautiful in every respect. She was just stunning. She had an almost visible sign over her head that said "Heartbreaker" underneath. And I think I had one over mine that said "Heart ready for the breaking." We were a perfect match, myself and Mary. And you know, it was like that poem by Kavanagh, that one where he says, "I saw the danger, yet I passed along the enchanted way, and I said, let grief be a fallen leaf at the dawning of the day." Well, to cut a long story short, I got dumped in the most ignominious fashion. I was waiting for Mary one night outside of Shepherd's Bush Underground Station. Some of you will know it. And I waited, and I waited, and waited. 2 hours I waited. You'd say, why did you have to wait 2 hours? Couldn't you have worked it out, like, 20 minutes maybe? I don't know why we do those things to ourselves, but I did. I waited, and then I took the last train home, feeling sorry for myself. And so, a year or so later, I came to Australia, and I never looked back. I love it here. I've had a great life. 40 years now, 1977. A lot of things has been invented in that 40 years, including the internet and Facebook. About a year ago, I opened my Facebook, and there was a thumbnail picture of a lady with white hair, and a little message that said, "Joe Lynch, Irish Joe Lynch, do I know you? I think I should know you." And a couple of messages more went backwards and forwards, And then she said, "Oh my God, it's you! I'm in Finchley, North London. Where are you?" "I'm still waiting here at Shepherd's Cross. I'm getting a bit fed up with this. If you don't show up soon, I'm going home." But anyway, dear Mary. But when I was in London, there was a fella called, what was his name? The great song, Percy Frinch, that wrote a lot of the great old Irish songs. And he wrote a song about a young fella, a bit like myself, innocent and green like that. And he's writing home to his sweetheart. A lot of you know this song now. And he wrote this. He said, "Oh Mary, this London's a wonderful sight, where the people are working by day and by night. They don't sow potatoes, nor barley, nor wheat, but there's gangs of them digging for gold in the street." And at least when I asked him, that's what I was told. So I just took a hand at this digging for gold. But for all that I found there, sure I might as well be where the mountains of morn sweep down to the sea. You remember young Peter O'Loughlin, of course. Well, he's over here now, at the head of the force. I met him today. I was crossing the Strand, and he stopped all the traffic with one wave of his hand. And as we stood talking of days that were gone, so the whole population of London looked on. But for all his great powers, he's wishful, like me, to be back where the dark morn sweeps down to the sea. There's beautiful girls here. Never you mind. With beautiful shapes nature never designed, with lovely complexions of roses and cream. But O'Loughlin remarked with regards to the same, he said, "If from those roses you venture to sip, sure the colour would all come away on your lips. So I'll wait for the wild rose that's waiting for me, where the mountains of morn sweep down to the sea." I believe that when writing a wish you expressed as to how the fine ladies of London are dressed, well, if you believe me, when asked to a ball, sure they don't wear no tops to their dresses at all. I've seen them myself, and you could not in truth say if they were bound for a ball or a bath. Don't be starting them fashions now, Mary Macree, where the mountains of morn sweep down to the sea. Percy Frinch wrote that. When I was digging holes under the Thames, because I did plenty of that, London blue they called it, oh God, it wouldn't come off the shovel. You'd see it in the back of a truck, it had a blue shimmer to it. And when I was digging that stuff, I wasn't studying Shakespeare like the other 17-year-olds that were enrolling in Oxford and Cambridge. Paddy was doing a different kind of an education altogether. And so I never studied Shakespeare until about a year ago. And I went into the second-hand bookshop above in Mullaney, and I saw a little book, a little red book, looked like about 100 years old maybe, Shakespeare sonnets. And I thought I'll just have a look just to see what all of the fuss is about, you know. And I opened it at random, and I landed on sonnet 18. And some of you will be familiar with it. There was a line that stuck out. I'd heard the line oftentimes, all right. "Shall I compare thee to a summer's day?" And I read it. Oh my goodness, it just blew me away, just totally beautiful. The irony in the poem is, he's saying there is no comparison between you and summer, because one day summer and all things warm and fresh and new will fade and get old, and the rose will wither to the stalk. But your summer will last forever. And why? Because I'm going to immortalize you with my poetry. And 400 years from now, some old Irishman with a cap will be out on the other side of the world, reciting your poem, keeping you alive. And so for me, I think art gives you immortality in a kind of a way. Your songs will survive you, and things will survive us. Create something and leave it behind, you know. That's what I think. Anyway, that's just me. I rave on a bit. So shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's leaves have all too short a date. Sometime too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often is his gold complexion dimmed. And every fair from fair sometime declines by chance, or nature's changing course untrimmed. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest, nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade, when in eternal lines to time thou drawest. So long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. The Bard, William Shakespeare. I imagine he's roaming above in heaven now, reciting Irish joke poems. I can just see it. No, I can't really. But this morning, I bumped into a beautiful red-haired girl, and she was just beautiful in a million ways. And then she hopped up on the stage down at the Willie Smith venue down there, and she sang a song, and I said, "A million and one ways," I said to myself, because my goodness me, she cracked me wide open with this beautiful song she sang. And I think she ruined my mascara. So I got talking to her, and I said I'd do a poem for her that I read about the tinkers, the gypsy people back in Ireland. We can't say tinker anymore, politically incorrect. But there was a bunch of them used to come to our house. Well, they got all the houses. They had nothing. There was no social security, no handouts. They had to live by winging a prayer. They'd sing or they'd dance or they'd mend pots and pans and stuff. And to me, they were just the most romantic creatures in the world. They'd come to the door. I was just a little boy, and I'd be holding on to my mother's apron. And they'd land at the door, and for some reason, they all had red hair. Everything from gold to auburn and every colour of autumn that was in between, and they were just strikingly amazing, magnificent looking creatures. And there was one of them, Ruby, and she was really beautiful. And she could dance like a wave in the sea. She could defy gravity with her dancing. And I'd see her dancing inside the square in our town. And then she'd get pushed off by the holy people and the police, and she'd get banished away off. So she'd go down around the back of the square, and then we'd all follow her down there, you see, and watch her dancing. And she trusted me. I was just a young boy, and she used to really trust me to pick up her money and stuff. I wouldn't trust everybody, So I'd gather all the pennies and the halfpennies, and I'd give her all her money later, And she used to look at me intensely with the blue eyes, and she'd say to me, one day, you'll marry my little Ruby. Her daughter was named Ruby as well, beautiful red-haired, lovely little child. And then she used to say this, you'll wed my foxy daughter, that kind of a thing. And then an awful thing happened one night. It was a really bad winter, and the little girl didn't make it. Well, this is the way, they lived in old caravans with canvas, and the cold was a factor, and so they had a very high mortality rate. And so a few years ago, I wrote a couple of poems for Ruby, and the one I was telling the beautiful red-haired girl about this morning, I won't do that one, I'll do the other one. By the way, that red-haired girl that I met this morning, her name is Claire Ann Taylor. Claire Ann Taylor, and she's amazing. So if you get a chance to see her at all over the weekend, get to see her. But in case you don't, you can look back at the back. She won't mind me pointing you up. That's her back over here. Yeah. I hope you don't mind me putting on the spot there. So what I did, I never ever read. And we had a poetry storytelling masterclass yesterday, and I said, whatever you do, don't ever read your stuff. Know your song well before you start singing, And here I am breaking all the rules. But I'm only getting it just in case. Just in case. Okay, so this way, in case I make a hymns of it, I'll have it, you see. Okay. Pick up my coin, oh book. Oh, there's a few Gaelic words in this now, so you can roll with it. Buchel is boy. They crop up here and there. You kind of go, you picked up as you go. Pick up my coin, O buchel og, and guard it in your honest hand. But turn your eyes from my lusty reel that the decent people band. For I'll dance my dance to feed my wane on the field behind the square, where the paying men conceal their sin with the priests and the peelers there. And one day you'll wed my Ruby Jarrag, one day you'll take her hand. For I read it in the stars, dear boy, and the tea leaves in my cup. You'll wed and keep my Ruby Jarrag, and share the tinker's sup. And you'll protect her, Danny Joe, and shelter her from scorn. And when she's old enough to dance, she'll dance for you, alone. Look, there's a gold one over there. Now quickly, pick it up. The balmy school days crawled on by. The balmy... I'm so sorry about this. The balmy summer soon gave way to a winter fierce and bleak, and the tinkers freezing in the glen were dying by the week. One snowy night the banshee cried, dawn broke the painful answer, another foxy tinker gone, the young one of the dancer. And that night I warmed her icy grave, with tears from off my cheek. I never saw that clan again. They might be in Kildare, or down in Cork beside the Lee. Sure, they could be anywhere. Mending pots, reading palms, fighting for their supper, for the tinker sure knows how to live, and he sure knows how to suffer. What's that? You've heard of them in Clare? My laughing grandson chased a roo out of my garden patch, and the kookaburras are laughing too. I think they're going to hatch. I'm so sorry about this now, but bear with me. The lemon myrtle fills the air and soothes my weary soul as I doze beneath a Queensland sun and dream on days of yore. So long ago, so far away. The tea leaves got it wrong, to seem. Was it in another world, or was it just an old man's dream? Yeah, maybe just an old man's dream of a fireside, quiet to fall asleep beneath the starry sky, with red-haired Ruby in his arms, humming Danny Boy in the flickering firelight gleam. Thank you very much. There was I'd never written anything for my darling wife, because and I'd written stuff for, like, Ruby. I'd written a couple of things for Ruby. I wrote something for the Smoko girl. I never wrote anything for my wife. And it was starting to become a bit of an elephant in the room. And so he's never written me anything, you know. And if you've seen, I did it this morning at the Port's Breakfast, so I'm sorry for repeating myself. I say I'm sorry for repeating myself. Bad jokes. But anyway, so she was away up in Darwin visiting the kids and the grandkids. And I thought, I'd just see if I can write. The reason I didn't want to attempt it was because if I failed, then it was no good. Oh, well, he wrote something for me, it wasn't half as good as the one he wrote for the Smoko girl, you know. But that'd be the end of me. And so I started writing it one Saturday. And I'm going great, home alone, you know, just myself and the dog, writing away, free as could be. And then I thought I'd put on a cup of tea, and I stuck on the kettle, and I flicked on the TV to see if there was any crack, and there was Professor Brian Cox, do you know the man? Yes. Amazing, engaging man altogether. And he had this fascinating story about atoms, and how small they are, and how amazing they are. And it just blew me away, because I never really went to school. I know I'm learning all of this stuff. Life is so exciting if you don't go to school. Think about it. Imagine, can you think of anything worse, well, maybe something worse, than getting to 18 or 20 and you're going around to, I know it all. You know? Oh, geez, what are you going to do with the rest of your life? Yeah? But when you get too old like me and you hear about things, what? Really? What's it called again? Computer, you know, that kind of crap. Great, it's a great thing. No, I'm just kidding. Keep going to school. Don't listen to me. Anyway, so I'm writing away. And then I'm watching Professor Brian Cox. And then I thought, I'm on a roll with the poem, so I go back to my poem. And what we ended up with was a love poem with a big splash of a science lecture. My love, my precious love. Half girl, and I think half dream. If I died and came back as a strawberry, would you come back as cream? And the master lights the candle, and the maid brings in the tea. Madame pours the pitcher, and you flow all over me. And you soak into my blushing being, and I drowned in, I suppose, with the dream that I'd return again, the stamen and you rose. Emblaze your wonders on my soul with texture, tone and tint, and the drowsy bee will agree with me. You have stoned us with your scent. And when you're holy, pure and good, I'll be every prayer upon your lips. And when you're bad, when you sin, like bad girls should, I'll be God's own perfume on your fingertips. I'll be the blonde in your Aryan hair. I'll be the ebony flare in your African skin. I'll be the joke that cracks your kookaburras before dawn. And when you're sad, I'll be the teardrop in your gin. I'll be the willow twig in your eagle's nest, soft woven garland round your breast. And when your soaring days are done, you'll pick me from all the rest and fly me nigh the sun. But I'll fain return a one last kiss, that dreamy leg-buckling kiss, you know. The kind of kiss that would make a bishop kick a hole in a stained glass window. My love, perhaps it's not an impossible dream that we once have been and we will be again. Perhaps it's not such a wild notion pulled from the heavens above. You see, these old bodies of ours are made up entirely of recycled atoms. Recycled again and again since the beginning of time. And these little atoms, they're in the ground, and they get sucked up through the roots of the plant. They become the plant, but the little atom remains the same. And then the plant gets eaten by a beast, and chomp, and he sucks it in, and next thing that goes into the building the bone and the blood and the flesh of that animal. And now the little atom has changed its life form again. It's gone from a plant to an animal. But it's still intrinsically the same little atom. It hasn't changed at all. He's still exactly the way he was. And it's been like that forever. And so therefore it's not inconceivable that there are little atoms in you and me here today that were once a tree, or a flower, or a bird. Or perhaps 100 million years ago, in a dinosaur roaming around West Queensland. Or 13.8 billion years ago, in a meteorite hurtling across our brand new heavens, creating galaxies, stars and planets, not knowing how many lives they were going to inhabit or perform, and then one day, one lovely rainy Saturday, they rock up at Cygnet, comprising you and me. How cool is that? How good is it? And so therefore perhaps it's not an impossible dream that we once have been, and maybe again and again and again. Perhaps it's not such a wild notion after all, pulled from the heavens above. My love, my precious love, half girl, and I still think half dream. So, if I die and come back as a strawberry, I pray that you'll come back as cream. Thank you. Oh boy, she hated it. She came back, and I got a couple of musos, friends of mine. One friend that plays guitar, just so beautiful, picks, and another one, he plays the violin. And I set it up. They hadn't even heard it. And at the Upfront Club in Mullaney, and so and there was a good old crowd there. And they brought the lights down for it and everything. And I did my poem, and to the boys playing a beautiful old melody, Irish melody. And herself was there, you know. And anyway, I was telling my niece about it. My niece loves Ricky, my wife. And she said, "Oh my goodness, did she cry?" I said, "Not at all. Every woman in the house cried except Ricky got a fit of laughing. I knew you were up to something." She married the woman to make her cry. Once upon a time, in the land of Hushabye, around about those wondrous days of yore, they came across a kind of box. It was bound up with chains and locked with locks and labelled, "Kindly do not touch. It's war." A decree was issued round about, and all with a flourish and a shout, and a gaily coloured mascot went tripping lightly on before, "Don't fiddle with this deadly box, or break the chains, or pick the locks, and please don't ever play about with war." Well, the children understood, because children happened to be good. They were just as good around those days of yore. They didn't try to pick the locks or break into that awful box. They didn't try to play about with war. Their mammies didn't either. Sisters, aunts, Grannies neither, because they were kind and sweet, pretty. Those wondrous days of yore, very much the same as now. Not the ones to blame, somehow, for opening up this deadly box of war. But someone did. Someone battered in the lid, spilt the insides out across the floor. A kind of bouncy, bumpy ball, made up of guns and flags and all the pain and death and horror that is war. It came bouncing straight out, bashing all about, bumping into everything in store. And what seemed sad and most unfair, it didn't really seem to care much who it bumped, or what, or why, or for. Bumped the children mainly. And I'll tell you this quite plainly, it bumps them every day, more and more. Leaves them sad and burnt and dying, thousands of them sick and crying, because when it bumps, it's really very, very sore. There's a way to stop this ball. It's not difficult at all. All it takes is wisdom. And I'm absolutely sure we could get it back into the box, bind the chains and lock the locks. Yes, let's do it. Let's bind the chains and lock the locks and label, kindly do not touch. It's war. We're still going okay for time. I didn't write that for somebody called Kendra Lascelles. And I got asked to do it at Woodford about 10 years ago for the fire event. And I'd never done anything on a stage before. I'd never even been up on a stage before, and I was terrified. The stage fright is shocking. And so I asked them, the Woodford people, I said, about how many people are going to be there, you know. And this fellow, Paul Lawler, he's dead and gone now, a beautiful human being. He said, only about 25,000. So the whole hill was like a big cauldron, you know, the stage was down here. And they had 10 drummers doing the drumming for this piece. And it was amazing. And your mug is up and he's been, really scary stuff, you know. And so I was terrified. I was really anxious and I was pacing up and down out the back about an hour before going on. And then I got a phone call from my son. He knows me pretty well. You know, he's one of my best friends in the world, Joey. You talked to you about him before. Anyway, he phoned me up and he said, Dad, when are you on? I said, about an hour's time, Joey. He said, he was overseas. He said, listen, not to put any pressure on you or anything, but if you fuck up, you're out of the family. And you know what? It really worked. There's nothing like humour to crack the teeth in anything, you know. But one of the best things, one of the best bits of news I ever heard out of Ireland, ever, was the day that they signed the peace agreement, the Good Friday Peace Agreement, after hundreds and hundreds of years. So when I was a little boy going to school, I used to be able to sing all right. And the reason for that was I grew very tall, very young. And the voice didn't break like the other boys, not for a long time. Puberty was very slow in coming. We're still waiting for some bits of it to turn. And there in school, and so the teacher, every now and again, he'd make me come up and sing for the class. I used to be mortified, you know, that was, jeez. And then, so then I'd say to him, can I sing Old Shep or something about a dog or a horse, you know? I was a little boy, my goodness. Prepubescent. I was about nearly this tall, but I was prepubescent, I think. Anyway, he said, no, you can't. He said, you have to sing one of these songs. All bloodthirsty rebel songs, you know. I don't want to read, I don't want to sing that. Anyway, he'd make you. And I remember one day in particular, I read the least bloodthirsty one out, keeping the stuff alive, you know. And I remember singing it, and I could feel the blood running warm in my veins. I could see the fire in the eyes of the boys, you know, fire in the belly, shining in the eyes. And I remember thinking then that as long as we keep feeding this into children, we will never, ever, ever have peace in the north of Ireland. And then you can imagine, I'm away out here in Australia, driving along the road one day, and the news came on, and they said that there's peace, there's great hope for peace in Ireland. And I actually believed it. I had to pull over to the side of the road. It really got me. You know, this time I actually believed it. And there is, here we are 19 years later. The helicopters are gone, the kneecapping is gone, the murders are gone, the disappearances have gone. Yeah, we still got a ways to go, but my goodness, we've come a long, long way. And I think if it can happen there, it can happen anywhere. We have the potential to overcome it. You know, I really do believe that with all my heart. But we have to believe it. One, because it worked in Ireland. Two, because it's worth it. On the day that love won, the stone rolled back and the bells of freedom rang. On the day that love won, the rose of Sharon rose and hosts of angels sang. No beating drum was heard, no war cry, nor the sound of sabre clang on the day that love won. On the day that love won, 600 men of war and power came to meet. On the day that love won, with humble hearts they sat and wept and washed each other's feet. And that cursed axe of war was banned and forever buried deep. 'Twas forever buried deep on the day that love won. On the day that love won, our tongues refused to sing another bloodthirsty, warring song. On the day that love won, we realized the error of curing wrong with wrong. And so we danced a different dance. We all sang, "Give peace a chance," without another backward glance. On the day that love won. On the day that love won, we gave out roses from ocean to sea. On the day that love won, a rose from each friend and from each enemy. From the rose of Mooncoin to the rose of Tralee, from Adams, McGuinness, Trimble, Paisley, the white rose of peace shone for you and for me on the day that love won. And I really do reckon if we focus on it enough, it's like the 100th monkey, you know, when enough of us focus on it and say, "I'm not going to let this go," I reckon we're going to outsmart it one day. We're going to get there. I reckon there is hope. And let's hold on to it. Let's not despair on that one. Because life is too precious and love is too precious. And thanks so much for listening to me. Thanks for listening. We're just about...
Yes, anytime.
Okay, tiny little story that I want to leave you with. Back here in Australia, we call it the long paddock. You know, in Ireland we call it the long acre. So, you know, when there's more grass outside of the fence than there is inside, you graze your livestock. There was this fella. He was walking along the road one day, and he spotted another man that was grazing his sheep in the long paddock. And so he pulled up and just for a yarn, you know, and he said, "How far would you walk your sheep now on an average day?" And the man said, which ones are you talking about? He said, "I got white ones and black ones." "Ah, jeez," he said, "I don't know, the white ones." So he said, the white ones about a mile a day, I suppose, depending on the pickings and whatever, you know. And he said, "What about the black ones?" He said, "Yeah, you'd be looking about a mile a day for the black ones." He said, "How much wool would your sheep yield you now in an average season?" He said, which ones are you talking about? The white ones or the black ones?" "Ah, God almighty." He said, "I don't know, the black ones. About a half a bale," he said, "a season for the black ones." He said, "What about the white ones?" "Yeah, about a half a bale, I suppose." He said, "Look, why is it every time I ask you a question about the sheep," he said, "you always have to make the distinction between the white ones and the black ones?" He said, "Well, the white ones are mine." And he said, "Oh, I suppose that's fair enough." He said, "Who owns the black ones, by the way?" "Oh, they're mine as well." And I just want to leave you with this. That's about as stupid as racism gets. Thank you so much. I've had a ball.